Bonjour, hello. My name is Dr. David R. Boyd, and I'm the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and the Environment. Thanks very much for this opportunity to join you at the 21st EU-NGO Forum on Human Rights, and thank you so much for focusing on the topic of a fair environmental future for everyone. As you all know, we are living in the midst of an unprecedented global environmental crisis. The converging impacts of climate change, biodiversity decline, and pollution are having enormous impacts on human rights across the planet. These impacts include impacts on the right to life, obviously with more than 7 million people dying premature deaths from air pollution every year, impacts on the right to health, the rights of access to water and sanitation, the right to food, the right to culture, and what I'm going to focus my comments on today, the right to live in a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. You know, this right is relatively new, but was first recognized in the Stockholm Declaration in 1972, and since then has spread right across the world. So now, today, 156 out of the UN's 193 member states recognize in law their citizens' right to live in a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. That's over 80% of UN member states. And this recognition comes in the form of constitutional protection, such as we see in France, Norway, and Greece, legislative protection, or through the signing of regional treaties, including the Aarhus Convention on access to information, public participation, and access to justice in environmental matters. So the overwhelming majority of EU nations have legally recognized the right to a healthy environment. And the challenge that lies ahead is in implementing this fundamental human right. The right to a healthy environment has two main elements. It has procedural elements and it has substantive elements. On the procedural side, we have the incredibly important tools that people can use to protect their right to a healthy environment, which include the right of access to information, the public's right to participate in environmental decision making, and the right of access to justice and remedies in cases where people's rights are being threatened or violated. On the substantive side, we have the right to a healthy environment includes clean air, access to safe drinking water and adequate sanitation, healthy and sustainably produced food, a non-toxic environment in which people can live, work, study, and play, healthy ecosystems and biodiversity, and finally, and perhaps most importantly, a safe climate. And I've written two reports thus far for the United Nations in my role as Special Rapporteur, one on clean air and the right to a healthy and sustainable environment, one on climate change and the right to a healthy and sustainable environment. And what's really, I think, encouraging, despite the magnitude of the challenges we face, what's encouraging is there are so many countries making progress in these areas. So we're seeing, for example, huge progress in terms of shifting towards renewable sources of energy for electricity generation. We have countries from Albania to Norway and Iceland where over 98% of electricity today is being generated through renewable sources, through hydroelectric, through wind, through solar, through biomass, and through geothermal sources of energy that is being harnessed for electricity. I was recently in Norway on a country visit and was really surprised and pleased to learn that over 50% of the new vehicles being sold in Norway today are 100% electric vehicles. So these are indications that despite the magnitude of the challenges we face, there are solutions. And it's fundamentally important that we take a rights-based approach to all of these environmental challenges in order to ensure that we protect the human rights of everyone, but particularly those who are most vulnerable, people living in poverty, women, children, people with disabilities, Indigenous people, and a rights-based approach can really put their interests at the forefront. I'm currently compiling a report on good practices that I'll present to the United Nations Human Rights Council in March of 2020, and I've managed to gather over 400 good practices from over 150 countries, and so I look forward to sharing that with you. The other thing that's really fundamentally important is that although 80% of the UN's member states recognize the right to a healthy environment in law, the United Nations itself has never done so. And so we really need the United Nations to step up to the plate and pass a resolution that recognizes that everyone, everywhere, has the right to live in a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. And I believe that the European Union, with its history of global leadership on human rights issues, with its history of global leadership on environmental issues, is an unbelievably important champion at the United Nations to call for and to support a resolution recognizing the right to a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. So I look forward to working with all of you in the months ahead to try and bring this to the United Nations and ensure that we have recognized this fundamental human right, which is such an important response given that we are living in this global environmental crisis. I hope you have a terrific forum. I hope that you have excellent discussions, and I thank you for all of the good work that you're doing to protect human rights and to protect this beautiful planet that we're so lucky to live on. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.